Good evening, everybody. Tonight we're going to look at a quick installation of a Shelly1 Wi-Fi relay. I'm showing you all the different ones that are available right now. Kind of go through them real quick here. One we're going to install is this little one right here. This is a single channel Wi-Fi relay. They also make basically the same back here in a power monitoring version. The 2.5, which is a 2-channel relay, which incidentally now is also coming out UL listed. The Shelly1 will be coming out with that same feature here very shortly, so look for that. It'll be coming out pretty quickly. And then this is also the Shelly RGBW. It's a red, green, blue, white controller. So plug in LED strips and or chips on that one. I'm not going to talk about those this evening, just going to talk about the number one here. Pull that up front and center here. Basically a single channel relay, and you can control lights or basically anything electrical with this. There's a couple different things I'll go ahead and point out to you. You've got input and output down on this end. You got line and neutral terminals down on that end. Obviously your line and neutral is going to be your black and your white wires from your 110 circuit go into these two. Your input's also going to be a 110, and your output is going to be what's going to your device. Now in this particular case tonight, we're going to hook this up with a ceiling fan, and it's going to go in my outlet box down on the wall. But I've also used one of these rather successfully up in the shroud of a ceiling fan mounted to the ceiling. Works just great up there too. And I use those 4 terminals we just talked about. Tonight we're also going to use the switch terminal, which is the one that's right there in the middle. That wires to your regular wall toggle switch and allows you to have the function of having a regular switch in the wall that matches your decor, but also gives you the function of having the smart features to be able to control whatever device it is you want to use. So in this case, I can use my voice automation to turn my fan on and off, or I can use my wall switch to turn the device on and off also. These come in particularly handy if you live in a home where not everybody is up with the home automation devices, or if you have people staying at your house that would not be familiar with your setup. You can use these in place of having hidden switches or smart light bulbs that you have to be able to turn on either with your app or turn on with voice control. So not everybody's familiar with that stuff and comfortable with it. Go ahead and show you the features of the device real quick. As you can tell, very small device, about the size of a double stuffed Oreo cookie. For those with fat little fingers like I've got, they're a little bit hard to hold on to, but still a good device, fits in the wall nicely. I'm going to pull out 2 plugs on it. On this particular side, you've got a shunt in there that you can change from 120 volt to 12 to 24 volt. This one comes factory set at 120, but if you do want to change it and use it with a 12 volt device, you'll just pull the shunt from one side, move it over to the other. It's all listed in the instructions, and you can set this up for working with 12 volt and 24 volt also. And then this other cap here, you can't see it because I can't get the light in there really good. There we go. Yeah, you can see the shunt over there now, and you can see it's a series of input output pins here. So you can hook this up and flash it with software such as Tasmoda if you wanted to run it on something like that versus running it on the Shelly. Now tonight we're going to set it up on the standard Shelly software because it seems to work pretty good. And in my particular application, we're going to integrate this with SmartThings rather than running it strictly through Shelly. But you can do either one, and I'll show you both once we get into the video. So we're going to pause here for just a second, and then we're going to walk over to our outlet box and I'll show you the install. Okay, so we're at the wall box now. I've already cut the power off and I've verified everything. Make sure you do that before you jump in your box so you don't electrocute yourself. We don't need to be responsible for any injuries here. Now, as you can already tell, we've got 2 different switches here. This is the switch where we're going to add the Shelly into. This is already a Z-Wave dimmer switch. We're not going to mess with that tonight. But just to show you that the box is going to be pretty full when we pull this apart, and this device is going to fit in there just fine. Alright, so now you can see what we're doing. You can see we've got a regular switch in the wall, and actually what we're going to do tonight is replace, you can see it back behind me, there's a Z-Wave switch that serves the same purpose that's failed in this particular application. So we're going to replace that particular switch with the Shelly tonight, and the only difference is going to be the protocol that's communicating across. Instead of it being Z-Wave, it's going to be Wi-Fi now, and it's going to take up a good bit less space, because if you can see that, that thing pretty much takes up every bit of the space behind that switch. So give me a second to pull this one out, and I'll let you see what we're replacing. Alright, so we've got the traditional flip switch out, and as you can, now you can fully see the relay that's behind it that we're going to end up replacing. Like I said, it takes up a lot of space in that box. So we're going to pull that one out and completely do away with it, and then we will go back to putting the Shelly in. Right, now on this particular switch, like I said, this is the Z-Wave version. You can see you've got neutral in, neutral and load in, and load out and neutral out. The Shelly's wired up a little bit different, so we are going to have to change a few things. And then down here at the bottom, we also have switched input for the wall switch, and as you can see, that's connected strictly to this particular relay. The Shelly is going to require power coming to one side of the switch, and then this is going to go back to the switch terminal. So you have a hot wire coming in here, and this will go back to the Shelly switch. So we are going to have to change a few things here real quick, so let me get that configured real fast, and then I'll show you the hookup. Alright, so we're back, and I didn't bore everybody through me sitting here stripping wires and fighting inside of a tight box, because that's boring and we all end up having to do it. So I'm going to go over the connections here again real quick. On the O terminal is going to be the output to the device. Alright, so that's going to be your main 110 volt load. Then we've got 110 volt input. We've got the switch wire, which is coming from our traditional toggle switch. And remember, the other end of that toggle switch is going back to the main load wires coming into the box. So it'll be your 110 volt black wires. And we've also got a load and a neutral over on this side. These are strictly powering the Shelly, so they're not actually carrying, while they're carrying 110 volts, they're not carrying amperage going to the device up in the ceiling. That's what these two wires here are going to be. So this is everything hooked up as it needs to be. Like I said, it was a little bit different than what we showed before. And remember, this device is only designed to be inside of a guarded or shrouded type enclosure, because as you can see, these connectors are still perfectly accessible, so you don't want to have main voltage on a terminal you can touch, so it wouldn't be good for a tabletop application. Make sure everything is screwed in good and tight, because loose wires cause fires. And we're going to stuff it all back in the box, and then we'll show you how to set it up. Alright, so we've got everything back in the wall now, and as you can tell, fairly tight fit, but there's plenty of room for that Shelly. In fact, we got a lot more breathing room back there, so we'll go ahead and pop the switch plate on, and then we'll power the circuit back up. Make sure nothing explodes, and then I'll show you how to get everything set up on your app and have it ready to use. Alright, so we've got it back in the wall, and we are ready to go to our Shelly app and get everything installed. Power's back on, and we didn't have any sparks. That's always a good sign. So we could go to the Shelly app. Go ahead and get that brought up. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to run into is we need to add our new device to the app. So to do that, first place you're going to need to go is back to your settings, to your Wi-Fi, and we're going to need to add this particular Shelly device to our Wi-Fi. So we're going to pop that real quick, and it's going to come up. It's going to show us an unsecured network, and it's also going to show us that we don't have Wi-Fi connection, and that's fine. That's exactly what we want it to show. So from here, go back to the Shelly app, and we'll go ahead and add the new device. Okay, so the first thing it's going to ask for is your Wi-Fi name and your password for your network. This needs to be a 2.4G network, not a 5G, and it is case sensitive. I found that out in one of my first installs. People gave me some information that was incorrect as far as capitalization, so make sure all your capitalization is correct and your password is correct. We're going to put all our information in, hit submit, and our new device is already added to our Wi-Fi network, and it should be good to go here in just a second. All right, and for right now it's going to show us that it's just the Shelly1 device until you go and add a name to it. So that'll be the first thing we're going to want to do. Now Shelly has you choosing rooms for your devices. Now again, I went back and told you earlier that we're going to use this in the SmartThings hub, so it's really not important for me to have it in a particular room, but if you do want to have it in a particular room and use it from the Shelly app, go ahead and set you up a new room. In this case, we're just going to catch bedroom here. That'll be a fine place for it. And in this case, this is going to be our den fan. That's what it was before. If you want to upload a picture and change anything else about it at this point, you can. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and save the device. Now it is important here, again, if you're going to use this in the Shelly app, for you to enable the cloud connection. If you don't enable the cloud connection, you'll always have local connection to the to your device, but you won't have it when you go to work. You won't have it when you're on vacation, so you won't be able to turn your devices on and off. Again, in my particular situation, using it with SmartThings Hub does not matter. But I'm going to go ahead and tell everybody for right now, go ahead and hit yes to the Cloud Connect. That way you have connection to the cloud. Say your SmartThings Hub fails and you still need to be able to turn some of these devices on and off, you can still get them through the Shelly app. And if you use the Shelly app exclusively, to be able to use it anywhere away from home, you'll need to have this. And our device was successfully connected to the cloud, so we're now showing the den fan as a device. It's showing local right now, but again, we did enable the cloud, and all that showing to work. The little orange square out here is for a firmware update. You can do the firmware updates if you want to, but in my particular situation, it has not mattered as to whether I've done them or not. That they seem to, the device seems to want to work just fine on its own. So we're going to go ahead and flip the switch here and see what happens. And as you can see, the den fan is coming on. And it's going to take the fan a minute or so to spool down, but I heard the click over my shoulder, so I know that everything is functional as it should be. And as you can see, she's winding down. I'll hit the button on the app one more time. And I heard my relay click in and out again. And she's back to working. So that's basically all there is to getting this device put in. From here, I'm not going to go through it. For those of you that are using SmartThings, you know how to add devices. And you know that it has to have a custom device handler for it to work. You can get that off of GitHub as well. I can post some details on that particular device handler for those of you who want to use it in SmartThings, but for anybody who wants to use it strictly in Shelly, we've gone over everything you need to see. I hope everybody's enjoyed this. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, and I thank you for your time. Have a great evening.